Let's get one thing straight: nobody outsmarts anyone by overthinking, by whining, or by waiting for the perfect moment. That's the playground myth. The truth is brutal, raw, and simple. Outsmarting people isn't about being smarter. It's about being smarter in the moment, consistently, and without ego. It's about knowing the rules, knowing the patterns, and then bending them while everyone else is busy playing checkers. Rule number 1. Know the terrain before you make a move. Every human interaction, every negotiation, every confrontation has invisible boundaries. Most people ignore them. I learned this in my early Secret Service days, standing on the sidelines of a presidential motorcade. I wasn't just watching the crowd. I was mapping patterns: who lingered too long, who moved too fast, who fidgeted like a predator sniffing the wind. The president didn't care about these small movements, but I did, because knowing the terrain meant predicting the threat before it arrived. You want to outsmart anyone? Start by noticing what everyone else ignores. Your coworker's tiny twitch when they lie about a report. The partner who over-explains themselves when they're hiding something. The competitor who brags loudly to cover weakness. These are breadcrumbs. Follow them, study them, collect them. Every bit of information is a weapon if you're paying attention. If you're not, you're just another target. I remember one assignment at a White House event. A man in the crowd was moving erratically, touching his phone every 30 seconds. Other agents shrugged. I noticed the pattern. 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. I followed him discreetly, and within minutes, we intercepted him before he got close to a VIP. He thought he was clever. He wasn't, because he didn't account for the terrain, and I did. That's the difference. Most people operate blindfolded. You take the blindfold off. Rule number 2, understand their iceberg. People are not their words. They are not their surface smiles or polite nods. They are the hidden weight, the unseen motives, the submerged self that nobody talks about. Think of every person like an iceberg: 10% above water, 90% below. Most people only react to the tip. You learn to read the whole structure. You learn where it's solid, where it's rotten, and where a little nudge can make the entire thing shift. I once interviewed a corporate executive for a consulting gig. She smiled, nodded, and told me all the right things. But I saw the tremor in her hands, the hesitation in her tone, the subtle way she avoided eye contact on certain topics. That was the iceberg talking. I asked one precise question about her revenue projections. Her defenses crumbled instantly. It wasn't about me being charming. It was about knowing where the pressure points were and pressing them with surgical precision. Icebergs don't lie. People do. Learn to see below the waterline. Now, here's the catch. Most people will tell you to be patient. Bullshit. Patience is not a weapon. Awareness is a weapon. Observation is a weapon. Timing is a weapon. If you've been trained to look, to listen, to notice, you already have the upper hand before anyone even realizes a game is happening. I learned this in interrogation rooms, where every twitch, every pause, every cleared throat revealed the truth, and in every high-stakes situation, protecting a president, protecting a client, protecting myself, truth always beats bluff. Always. Facts win, not feelings, not opinions, not excuses. Facts win. Always. Here's your first action step: start cataloging the patterns in your daily life. Not tomorrow. Not sometime this week. Today. Notice the coworker who always brags but never delivers. Notice the friend who complains constantly yet never acts. Notice the stranger who overestimates their power in your presence. Write it down. Build a personal map. This is your terrain, your advantage, your first line of dominance. And one more thing before we move on: dominance is not intimidation. Dominance is control over yourself first, and the environment second. You can't outsmart someone if you're emotionally drowning in your own bathtub of stress, ego, or drama. Protect your cognitive load like a vault. Empty the clutter. Every unnecessary thought, every unresolved fight, every what if you carry weakens you. A full bathtub overflows. You want clarity. You want leverage. You want dominance. Empty the tub. Own your mind. Rule number 3, always assume you're not in control. Most people walk around thinking they're steering the ship. They're not. You want to outsmart anyone. Start by admitting you don't control the other person. You don't control the outcome. You control one thing, yourself. Your posture, your tone, your questions, your silence, everything else, variable, unpredictable, messy. I learned this lesson the hard way on my first overseas assignment. I was tasked with screening a high-profile diplomat for a VIP visit. I went in thinking I had the upper hand. I was trained, I was confident, I was ready. 30 seconds in, he shifted the conversation, challenged me, played on my assumptions. My first thought, panic. My second thought, I can't let this show. That's when I remembered control yourself, read the iceberg, follow the terrain. I stayed calm. I asked the questions no one else thought to ask. 10 minutes later, I knew what he was hiding, he didn't know I knew, and the visit went off without a hitch. This works in everyday life too. Your coworker who gaslights you during a meeting. Your sibling who pushes your buttons every time you visit. Your client who pretends they're too busy to pay what they owe. You don't control them. You control your reaction, your question, your leverage. That's where power lives. Not in yelling. Not in proving a point. Not in dramatic gestures. In clarity. In composure. In knowing what matters and ignoring what doesn't. Here's a story that sticks with me. During a high-security event, a protester tried to get into the secured perimeter. Everyone panicked. I didn't. I observed. I repositioned. I neutralized the risk calmly. The crowd didn't see the control. They saw me as a figure of authority, but in reality, I had zero control over the situation. I only had control over how I moved, how I communicated, and how I responded. That's it. Zero control over them. Total control over you. Rule number 4, use small, deliberate moves, not flashy leaps. People overestimate the impact of big gestures. They underestimate the cumulative effect of small acts. Tie-ins. This is a predator principle. The predator doesn't run after every animal. It picks the weak, the predictable, the easy target. Consistency wins. Small, repeated, strategic steps wear down resistance faster than a single grand slam. I remember training a new agent once. She wanted to intimidate a group of unruly security contractors by flexing her authority. She shouted. She threatened. She made herself the center of attention. It failed spectacularly. I pulled her aside and said, teeny steps. Shoes. By the bed, tiny steps. Watch, wait, prod, act. Don't announce the strike. Land it quietly. Everyone else will think it was their idea. That day, she learned more about human behavior than weeks of lectures. Let's translate that into daily life. You want to outsmart your boss. Don't confront them with a 6-point manifesto. Plant ideas quietly, subtly, consistently. Want to handle a toxic friend? Don't explode at them. Set boundaries incrementally. One step. Then another. Then another. By the time they notice, the landscape has shifted, and you're standing where you wanted to be all along. Small moves are invisible. Small moves are unstoppable. Small moves outsmart the big moves. Every time. Now, contrast this with chaos. Ever notice people who scream to be heard in a room? They're the loudest, but the easiest to manipulate. People underestimate silence, patience, observation. A well-placed question, a pause in conversation, a subtle shift in posture. These are the moves that win battles without anyone realizing a battle took place. You want dominance. Forget the noise. Master the quiet. Master the space. Master yourself. Action steps. Start practicing subtle influence today. One interaction, one conversation, one tiny shift in approach. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. The coffee line, the Zoom meeting, the family dinner. Track your results. Adjust. Repeat. Remember, small steps compound. Tiny leverage builds empires. Big gestures often burn bridges. Pick the moves no one else sees coming. Rule number 5, people lie. A lot. And they don't even know it. Not maliciously, not always consciously. They lie because the truth is uncomfortable, inconvenient, or embarrassing. Your job isn't to shame them. Your job is to spot it, process it, and use it. Ignoring it is giving them an advantage. Accept it, adapt, or leave. Simple. No drama. No moralizing. I'll never Forget a late night assignment at a government building. A staffer kept insisting they weren't carrying anything in their bag. I asked calmly, nothing. Watching every micro-expression. The smile faltered, a finger twitched. I opened the bag. Sure enough, concealed electronics. Did I berate them? No. Did I need to know it? Absolutely. That moment, the moment I caught the lie without panic, without anger, was dominance. I wasn't louder, I wasn't stronger, I wasn't even faster. I was present, observant, ready. That's how outsmarting works. You notice, you process, you act. Here's the real kicker: people's lies reveal their needs, their fears, their strategies. You want to outsmart a client who promises one thing but delivers another. Track their inconsistencies. You want to outsmart a romantic partner who tells you, "I'm fine," when they're not. Observe the iceberg beneath the words. You want to outsmart your competition in business. Compare what they say to what they do. Facts, not feelings. Facts beat ego. Facts beat narrative. Facts beat the story they're trying to sell. Let me tell you about one interrogation that still haunts me. The subject insisted he was innocent. Calm, smooth, the confident. I let him talk. I let him brag. I let him show off. Then I asked one specific, seemingly insignificant question about a time and place. His confidence cracked. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need threats. Just one fact, one observable truth he couldn't navigate. Dominance is rarely loud. Dominance is surgical. Contrast this with people who try to call you out or trap you with emotion, anger, guilt, sympathy. They think it will work. It rarely does. The smarter you are, the more detached you must be. Imagine you're standing on a hill, observing ants below. You don't scream at the ants. You don't panic when one bites. You observe, you anticipate, and you step where needed. That's the mindset. Step where needed. Step deliberately. Step without ego. Rule 6. Yes, I'm giving you an extra one because this is important. I never play someone's game if you don't understand the rules. I've seen agents, executives, and everyday people lose enormous leverage because they jumped in blind, assumed they knew the rules, or thought they were cleverer than the system. There's a guy in the office who always negotiates aggressively on every deal. He knows the rules. If you don't, why? Are feeding him. There's a friend who always turns situations into crisis. Learn the pattern. Don't overact. Don't buy in. Master the rules before you act. I learned this in a White House detail when a VIP insisted on a shortcut through a crowded lobby. Everyone assumed the VIP's path was the path. I didn't. I studied the floor plan, noted the blind spots, predicted crowd movements. Everyone else got stuck. I delivered safely, calmly, efficiently. Why? I knew the rules. I respected them. I adapted. Rules aren't limitations, they're leverage. Learn them, then bend them. Now, here's the practical kicker. Most people think dominance is charisma, aggression, or luck. Wrong. It's observation, patience, and execution. It's knowing when to speak, when to pause, and when to let facts speak for you. Want to outsmart anyone? Stop overcomplicating it. Stop trying to outchain or overpower. Watch, listen, record, adjust. Make small moves. Follow the terrain. Respect the iceberg. Track the lies. Learn the rules. These are not theories. They're tested. They work. Every time. Action step: pick one person this week. Could be a colleague, a competitor, a friend, a client. Observe, track, pat. Turns. Identify the iceberg. Find inconsistencies. Write them down. Map the terrain. Think in small steps, deliberate moves. At the end of the week, ask yourself, am I seeing the truth beneath the surface? Or am I reacting to the tip of the iceberg? That reflection is your leverage. That reflection is your power. Now let's talk about cognitive load, because this is where most people fail without realizing it. Your brain is like a bathtub. Every thought, every worry, every resentment, every pointless conversation adds water. And if you don't drain it, it overflows. You can't outsmart anyone with a full bathtub. You drown, you panic, you misread signals, you act reactive instead of deliberate. I remember a particularly tense assignment during a state visit. Multiple dignitaries, conflicting security teams, a dozen unpredictable variables. Every agent around me was frantic, running scenarios, memorizing names, juggling responsibilities. Their bathtubs were overflowing. Mine, I consciously emptied it before every action. I prioritized the facts that mattered, discarded the noise. When a protester tried to breach the perimeter, my reaction was precise, calm, surgical. Others reacted in chaos, and yes, some got embarrassed. Being mentally clear is a weapon. Empty the tub. Empty the tub. Empty the tub. Here's the kicker. Most people fill their tub with things they think they need. Grudges, rumors, hypothetical arguments, imagined slights. You know the type? That coworker who obsessively replays a disagreement. That friend who can't stop. What if? That's extra water in the tub. You want to outsmart anyone? Drain it. Purge it. Prioritize only what matters. And here's the beauty: the lighter your tub, the faster you move, the clearer you see, the smarter you act. A family story drives this home. Growing up, my Greek grandmother would tell me, Evy, carry only what fits in your arms. Anything more is dead weight. I hated it then. Loved it now. Your emotional, mental, strategic energy is finite. Stop carrying things that aren't yours. Stop trying to change people who refuse to change. Stop reliving arguments from 5 years ago. Protect your bathtub. Your cognitive clarity is leverage. Your ability to act decisively is leverage. Your presence in the moment is leverage. Guard it. Guard it. Guard it. Another lesson from the field. Interrogations are a masterclass in cognitive load. A suspect trying to lie. If they're stressed, panicked, overwhelmed, the truth leaks out. I don't need to yell. I don't need theatrics. I just observe. I know where the pressure points are. I drain the suspects. Tub, with precise questions, pauses, and contradictions. The lighter their mental load, the less they can hide, the more predictable they become. That same principle applies to outsmarting anyone in life. Your target will give away leverage if you remain composed, deliberate, observant. Here's the action step for the next 3 days. Track what's filling your tub. Write it down. What's cluttering your mind? What's draining energy without giving you results? Complaints about coworkers, drama with friends, old grudges, toxic social media scrolling. Identify it, remove it, make space. You'll be amazed at how much faster, smarter, sharper you move when you're not weighed down. Finally, a metaphor to hold on to. Think of yourself as a predator stalking prey, but instead of rushing, you're standing silently on the edge of a river. You only strike when the moment is perfect. No panicking. No extra noise. That's how dominance works. That's how outsmarting any works. Light tub, sharp mind, patient strike. Let's talk about adaptation, because this is where 90% of people fail. Most people think they can fix. Others bend reality to their comfort, or make someone play fair. Newsflash, you can't. You can only adapt, or walk away. Accept the iceberg. Adapt or leave. Stop wasting energy trying to change what won't change. I'll never forget a client consultation a few years ago. She was desperate to teach her team accountability. She tried workshops, emails, pep talks. Nothing worked. I asked, "Why do you think they'll change?" She looked confused. "Because they should." "That's ego, not strategy." I said, "Accept the iceberg. Some will follow. Some will sink your ship. Focus on the ones you can influence and let the rest drift." 3 months later, her team had improved. Not because everyone changed, but because she learned to adapt. Small moves. Strategic influence. Adapt or leave. Adapt or leave. I've seen this principle repeatedly in the Secret Service. Some agents can't adjust to a VIP's quirks. Some complain about unfair schedules or dangerous situations. They fail. The ones who succeed, they adapt. They don't argue. They don't complain. They read the iceberg, the terrain, and act with precision. Adaptation isn't optional. It's survival. Here's a story. I was on a detail where the president wanted to exit through a crowd route I knew was risky. Most agents protested. I didn't. I adapted. I adjusted the perimeter subtly, changed positions, and created a safe path without disrupting the plan. No drama. No ego, just adaptation. The operation succeeded because I moved with the terrain instead of against it. Dominance is never stubborn. Dominance is flexible. It's not, I want it my way. It's, I get the outcome safely, efficiently, and decisively. Contrast that with people who resist. The coworker who refuses to pivot in a project. The friend who can't let go of old grudges. The competitor who overcommits without strategy. They're predictable. They burn energy, they drown. Adaptation is your advantage. You can outsmart them because you're fluid aware and willing to adjust while they cling to rigidity. Another lesson: negotiation is 90% adaptation. You want a raise? You want a client to commit? You want a family member to respect boundaries? Stop pushing your preferred outcome like a hammer. Listen. Observe. Adjust. Offer solutions in the language of their iceberg. Small concessions, subtle leverage, strategic pressure. You'll win more battles in 3 steps than most people do in 10 confrontations. Action step. Pick one situation this week where you feel resistance. Work, family, friends. Ask yourself, am I trying to change the iceberg, or am I adapting to it? Write down what you can control, what you can influence, and what you need to let go. Plan one adaptive move, no ego, no drama. Execute, evaluate, repeat. That is how dominance is built, not by brute force, but by fluid intelligence. And remember, every human interaction is a chessboard. Most people are playing checkers. Adaptation is your secret weapon. Step lightly. Observe heavily. Move deliberately. Strike at the precise moment the terrain favors you. That's how you outsmart anyone. That's how dominance works. That's how you win while others flail. Now let's get real about emotional leverage. People think dominance is physical strength, loud voices, or intimidation. Wrong. Emotional leverage is far more powerful and far more overlooked. It's not about controlling someone, it's about controlling the space between you and them, the tension, the narrative, the perception. I learned this in an interrogation early in my career. A suspect insisted he was innocent, calm, confident, smug. Most agents would have argued, threatened, or rushed. I didn't. I mirrored his confidence, let him talk, let him expose himself. His ego became his cage. Every lie, every overconfidence, every slip worked in my favor. By the time I asked the key question, the truth came out naturally. No shouting, no fighting. Emotional leverage, his own ego against him. That's how you dominate without lifting a finger. Here's another example. A former president I protected was debating a policy in a tense public forum. Opponents were yelling, challenging, overacting. The president didn't raise his voice. He didn't flinch. He paused, delivered facts calmly, and let the other side expose their own flaws through their emotion. The crowd, the media, the staff, they noticed one thing: control. Emotional leverage is controlling the narrative by staying unmoved while others unravel. You can do this too. Not through acting, but by being deliberate. Contrast this with people who react immediately to provocation. Social media fights, office arguments, family drama. They flood their own bathtub with emotional water and expect dominance. Wrong. They lose clarity. They lose leverage. They expose their weaknesses. Emotional restraint is not weakness. It's the predator's waiting stance, silent in the grass. It's knowing that the right moment is far more effective than the loudest moment. Small story. I once consulted for a CEO dealing with a manipulative board member. The board member tried to corner her with aggressive questions, personal digs, and guilt-tripping. I advised her, do nothing. Let him speak. Observe the iceberg. She followed it. Within minutes, he contradicted himself, revealed hidden motives, and undermined his own credibility, all while she sat still, composed, and ready. By controlling her own emotional output, she gained dominance, emotional leverage, patience, observation, clarity. Action step: next time someone pushes your buttons, at work, in life, online, don't react immediately. Pause. Observe. Ask yourself, what are they really after? What's the iceberg beneath their words? What leverage are they revealing? Respond strategically, not emotionally. Even a 3-second pause can shift the entire power dynamic. This is where dominance thrives, where everyone else is losing because they're drowning in their own reactions, and you are the calm, deliberate predator. Here's the takeaway. Emotional leverage is about letting others exhaust themselves while you remain untouchable. You're not cold. You're calculated. You're aware. You use their energy against them. You strike at the precise moment, or sometimes you don't strike at all, because dominance isn't always about action. It's often about restraint. Remember, this dominance is cumulative. Observation, terrain, icebergs, small moves, cognitive clarity, adaptation, emotional leverage. Every piece compounds. Every principle strengthens the others. Ignore one, and your whole advantage crumbles. Master them all, and you create a force no one can predict. Let's get blunt. Timing beats intensity every single time. People think dominance is about the loudest voice, the biggest punch, the grandest move. Wrong. It's about knowing when to act, when to wait, and when to let the moment come to you. Timing is invisible leverage. It's the predator that waits by the waterhole while the rest run around panicking. It's surgical, it's quiet, it's unstoppable. I learned this during a high-stakes presidential detail. We were moving through a crowd that looked calm on the surface, but subtle patterns told a different story. People jostling, someone lingering, someone watching. My team was ready to act immediately. Rush, intercept, secure. I held back, observed, waited. 30 seconds later, the threat revealed itself exactly where I predicted. No chaos, no collateral. Timing won, not speed or volume. That's how dominance works in real life too. Here's a professional story. I was consulting with a corporate negotiator who kept forcing concessions too early. He was smart, aggressive, confident, but he was leaving leverage on the table. I told him, stop hitting. Stop talking. Wait for the signals. Let them commit emotionally before you move. Timing will win you more than your arguments ever could. 2 weeks later, the same negotiation ended with far better terms. Patience and timing outsmarted speed and ego. Contrast that with impatience. Ever notice people who rush decisions, push arguments, or try to prove themselves? They leave tracks, reveal patterns, and hand leverage to the observant. Timing isn't waiting for luck. It's dying the iceberg, reading the terrain, and moving precisely when the environment is in your favor. Move too early, risk failure. Move too late, lose opportunity. Move at the exact moment, total dominance. Here's a personal anecdote. Early in my polygraph examiner career, a subject was spinning a story, confident and smooth. I knew the lie, but I didn't confront immediately. I let him talk, repeated his statements back strategically, observed micro-expressions, and waited for the perfect opening. When I asked the final question, the lie collapsed instantly. The difference: timing, control, strategy, not aggression, not speed, not volume. Action step in your next high-stakes interaction. Whether it's work, relationships, or negotiations, pause, watch, listen. Ask, when is the exact moment to speak? When is the exact moment to act? Not instinctively, not reactively, not emotionally, but deliberately. Then act. That moment is your leverage. That moment is your dominance. That moment is invisible to everyone else, but lethal if you recognize it. Another note: timing compounds with every other principle we've discussed. Terrain, iceberg, small moves, cognitive clarity, adaptation, emotional leverage. They're all gears in the machine. Timing is the trigger that sets the machine in motion. Without it, your brilliance stalls. With it, you are unstoppable. Timing isn't luck. It's preparation meeting observation. Timing isn't chance. Timing is dominance. Let's talk about circle management, because this is where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. Your circle, friends, colleagues, family, allies, is either fueling your dominance or draining it. High vibration people elevate you. Low vibration people drown you. Toxic, manipulative, or lazy people are cognitive water in your bathtub. You cannot outsmart anyone if your tub is overflowing with other people's chaos. I learned this the hard way on a presidential detail. One agent was brilliant, fast, reliable, but he kept allowing distractions into his focus: arguments with colleagues, personal grudges, drama. I saw the impact immediately. His attention scattered. He missed small cues in the crowd that I noticed instantly. When stakes are life or death, even the smallest distraction can be fatal. Your circle affects your performance. Your circle affects your leverage. Your circle affects your dominance. Here's a story from consulting. A CEO I worked with was struggling because she had 3 advisors who constantly contradicted her, spread fear, and second-guessed every move. I told her, "You're the president here. You decide who sits at the table. Not everyone deserves a seat. Not everyone deserves your time." She cleaned house. 1 month later, she was sharper, faster, and far more decisive. She had reclaimed her tub, her focus, and her dominance. Contrast that with people who keep low vibration individuals close because they're family. Or they might change. Stop. You can't change them. You can't reason with them. You can't rely on them. Accept the iceberg, adapt if you must, or remove yourself. Your energy is finite. Protect it. Empty the bathtub, protect the tub, guard your mind. I remember a family dinner where an uncle kept turning every conversation into a guilt-laden critique. Everyone left drained. I stayed focused, watched patterns, and mentally cataloged responses. Others reacted, escalated, and fueled the chaos. I didn't. I walked away when necessary, I listened when strategic, and I chose my engagement. I wasn't avoiding confrontation. I was preserving leverage. I was protecting my cognitive space. That's dominance. That's outsmarting anyone. Action step, audit your circle. Who lifts you? Who drains you? Who's predictable, helpful, and trustworthy? Who's manipulative, petty, or constantly needy? Start trimming strategically. Not everything, not everyone, but enough to make your tub manageable, your mind clear, and your moves deliberate. Once you do this, everything else becomes easier: observation, timing, adaptation, emotional leverage. Everything compounds when your energy isn't being stolen. Remember, dominance is not about being the loudest or the toughest. It's about precision, clarity, and protection. Your circle is part of your terrain. Map it, guard it, adjust it. If your tub is full of other people's chaos, you will never move with clarity. You will never strike when the moment favors you. You will never outsmart the predator in your midst. Choose carefully. Protect your space. Protect your leverage. Let's tie it all together. Dominance is cumulative, not explosive. It's not one magic trick, one brilliant speech, one lucky break. It's terrain, iceberg, small moves, cognitive clarity, adaptation, emotional leverage, timing, and circle management, layered, practiced, internalized. Every principle compounds. Every principle reinforces the others. Ignore one, and the structure collapses. Master them all, and you're untouchable. I remember training new Secret Service recruits. Most thought dominance meant physical prowess. Wrong. I put them in high-pressure simulations where speed, strength, and shouting didn't matter. What mattered was clarity under pressure, observing patterns, anticipating moves, subtle timing, emotional control, adapting to changing variables. The recruits who succeeded. Those who applied the principles. The rest, frustrated, overwhelmed, predictable. Dominance isn't flashy. Dominance is deliberate. Here's a story from consulting. A client was facing a hostile merger. Everyone was panicking. The competitor was loud, aggressive, and trying to intimidate. I told her, watch, listen, track the iceberg, move quietly, timing, patience, tiny steps. Over 6 weeks, she negotiated far better terms than anyone expected, not by being louder or stronger, but by applying each principle methodically. Terrain, iceberg, cognitive clarity, adaptation, emotional leverage, timing, circle management, every step compounded. That's how real dominance works. Another real-world example: protecting a VIP in a chaotic, unpredictable environment. The crowd is moving, threats appear, agents are stressed. You cannot control the crowd. You cannot control the unpredictability. You can only control yourself, your observation, your timing, your reactions. You compound every principle, step by step. You execute with precision. You dominate the situation quietly, effectively, invisibly. Most people never notice, but the difference is life or death. Here's your challenge in your life. Who are you trying to outsmart? A competitor? A toxic colleague? A manipulative friend? The principles are the same. Observe the terrain. Read the iceberg. Make small moves. Empty your tub. Adapt. Control your emotional output. Time your actions. Manage your circle. Layer them. Practice them. Execute them. This is dominance, not intimidation. This is outsmarting, not arguing. This is real world leverage every single day. Action step: pick one target this week. Could be a person, a situation, or a recurring challenge. Apply all 8 principles in sequence. Map the terrain. Identify the iceberg. Make tiny, deliberate moves. Protect your cognitive load. Adapt to reality. Control emotional leverage. Choose timing wisely. Audit your circle. Reflect daily. Track progress. Recalibrate. Repeat. Done consistently, dominance becomes habit. You outsmart anyone because you operate on a different level, not a different story. Here's the truth: nobody wants to admit you are capable of far more than you think. But only if you act consistently, deliberately, and without ego. Most people fail because they overanalyze, because they cling to the past, because they let other people fill their bathtub with nonsense. Outwitting anyone isn't about talent or genius. It's about discipline, observation, patience, and layered execution. It's about doing the work others won't do quietly, strategically, every day. Let me give you one last story from my Secret Service days. We were on a high-stakes event, crowd dense, media swarming, multiple VIPs moving through corridors no one else fully understood. Everyone was tense, reacting, panicking internally. I moved slowly. I watched. I adjusted. Every small move compounded. I predicted crowd shifts before they happened. I guided agents discreetly. I kept the VIP safe. No one noticed. But that was the point. Dominance isn't about applause. Dominance is being effective when others are overwhelmed. Being calm when others panic. Acting when others react. Effective. Calm. Deliberate. Dominant. Another personal lesson: family dynamics. Some relatives constantly test, manipulate, or push boundaries. You can either respond emotionally, argue endlessly, or you can outsmart them quietly. Observe patterns, adapt to reality, control your responses, and take small, strategic steps. One subtle boundary enforced consistently is worth 10 confrontations. One tiny adjustment made deliberately compounds into total control of your space and influence. You don't need drama. You need leverage. You need precision. You need patience. Here's the core philosophy. People aren't designed to change. Icebergs stay under the waterline. The terrain doesn't wait. Timing is relentless. Emotional leverage exists whether you use it or not. Your bathtub fills whether you guard it or not. Your circle either protects or drains you. Every principle we've discussed is a tool. Every tool requires practice. Every principle compounds. Use them together. Layer them. Execute them relentlessly. That is how you outsmart anyone, anywhere, anytime. Practical, final action steps. Observe the terrain. Watch people, patterns, context. Write notes. Map the invisible. Read the iceberg. Look beyond words. Watch micro expressions. Listen to what isn't said. Tiny, deliberate moves, subtle shifts over time beat grand gestures. Shoes, bite the bed, small steps. Protect your cognitive bathtub. Drain unnecessary thoughts, resentments, distractions. Mental clarity is leverage. Adapt or leave. Accept reality. Don't waste energy on what won't change. Move strategically. Control emotional leverage. Stay calm while others panic. Use their energy, not yours. Time your actions. Strike, speak, or act precisely when conditions favor you. Patience compounds power. Manage your circle. Protect your energy. Trim the drains. Keep high vibration people close. Practice daily. Dominance is cumulative. It's not a one-time event. It's the sum of habits applied strategically. And one final story for them. I once observed a manipulative lobbyist at a government event. He tried every trick in the book: bribery, charm, aggression, guilt. I did nothing at first. I observed. I noted. I timed. I acted. The deal he thought he controlled collapsed quietly, predictably, and without fanfare. Why? I followed the principles. I protected my tub. I read the iceberg. I moved when the moment favored me. He never saw it coming. I never needed to be loud. I never needed to prove anything. That is dominance. That is outsmarting anyone. That is power in action. So, here's the takeaway. Dominance is available to anyone willing to do the work. Layered, consistent, deliberate. You are not unique in your challenges. You are not special in your pain. That's freeing. That means anyone can do this if they learn the rules, respect the principles, and execute without ego. Your move is deliberate. Your observation is sharp. Your leverage is invisible. Your timing is perfect. You outsmart anyone because you act when they can't, see what they can't, and move when they won't. Now go observe, adapt, protect your tub, layer your moves, track the iceberg, manage your circle, time your actions, execute with precision, outthink, outlast, outmaneuver, outsmart. Dominance is yours if you claim it,